They say silence is golden, but there's something hauntingly louder about the silence that surrounds you at 3 a.m. It isn't the kind of silence you enjoy. It's the kind that demands you to hear what you've been ignoring. It's the kind of silence that strips away your distractions, peels off your masks, and lays you bare with the questions you spend your days running from. 3 a.m. is not just a time, it is a mirror that refuses to show you the filtered version of yourself. At 3 a.m., you do not get to scroll it away. You do not get to sleep it off, you face it, whether you like it or not. It's in that hour when the world sleeps and your soul stirs that the truth starts whispering. The truth you've been avoiding, the wounds you covered with laughter, the dreams you buried under practicality, the pain you numbed with people, parties, noise at 3 a.m., it all knocks on the door of your consciousness. Because you see, life has a strange way of waking you up, not with alarms, but with ache. And often, the ache becomes unbearable at exactly the time when there's no one around to distract you from it. That's not a coincidence. That's your wake-up call. That's the universe asking you, what are you doing with your life? That's your soul asking, why are you betraying your truth? That's your heart asking, how long will you keep pretending that you're okay? We spend so much of our lives trying to be what others want us to be, successful in their eyes, acceptable by their standards, lovable on their terms, but at 3 a.m., when it's just you and your truth, you realize none of that matters. You realize the emptiness that sits next to you in the dark isn't caused by the world, it's caused by your own disconnection from your purpose. Have you ever wondered why your mind refuses to rest at that hour? Why your chest feels heavy, your eyes sting, your thoughts race? It's because there's a voice inside you that's been silenced for too long. It's tired of being ignored. It wants to be heard, not tomorrow, not next year, now. 3 a.m. is when your excuses run out. It's when your resilience is tested. It's when your soul chooses to either break or rebuild. And I want you to understand something. That discomfort you feel at 3 a.m., that restless, aching feeling, it's not your weakness. It's your strength calling you back. It's your potential demanding to be unleashed. It's your pain asking to be turned into purpose. You don't need more followers, more validation, more distractions. You need more moments like 3 a.m., when you are raw, unfiltered, and forced to meet the person you truly are. And from that meeting, something incredible can be born, not from pretending, but from confronting. Not from escaping, but from embracing. Maybe your dreams aren't dead, they're just buried under layers of fear. Maybe your heart isn't broken, it's just begging to stop settling. Maybe your life isn't meaningless, you're just living someone else's version of it. So the next time you find yourself wide awake at 3 a.m., don't curse it, don't drown it out, don't scroll through it, sit with it, listen to it. Because in that moment of stillness, you are the closest you will ever be to your truth. And that is where your real life begins. 3 a.m. is when your inner truth speaks the loudest. It is a time when the world goes quiet, not metaphorically, but in the most real, tangible sense. The traffic stops. The messages pause, the expectations take a break, and in that rare stillness, something remarkable happens. Your inner voice, the one muffled by noise all day long, begins to whisper. No, to speak. Clearly, boldly, unashamedly. It's in this hour that your mind ceases to filter and your heart stops pretending. No one is watching, no one is judging, the performance is over, and finally you are left alone with the truth you carry but often deny. This is not the truth you post about. This is not the truth you tell your friends when they ask, how are you really doing? This is the truth beneath the surface, the kind you haven't shared because you're afraid of how heavy it sounds or how real it feels. At 3 a.m., you don't get to edit your thoughts. You don't get to wear confidence like armor. You don't get to disguise insecurity as ambition. What rises in those early hours is the truth that lives quietly in you throughout the day, but is drowned under layers of duty, distraction, and denial. It's strange, isn't it, how we fear silence during the day but crave it at night, and then, when we have it, we feel a strange unease, as if something is knocking from inside us, asking to be let out. That's not anxiety, that's not insomnia, that's you. That's your voice. The one you silenced when you said yes when you meant no. The one you ignored when you laughed at things that hurt you. The one you buried when you chose safety over growth, acceptance over authenticity. The inner truth is not always convenient. It doesn't always come with a smile. Sometimes it brings tears, regret, guilt, anger, and longing. But that doesn't make it any less valid. In fact, it makes it all the more important. At 3 a.m., your inner truth strips away the politeness, the professionalism, the pretense. It asks you questions no one else will dare ask. Are you happy with who you've become? Are you living or just existing? Are you settling because it's easy or because you've convinced yourself it's all you deserve? During the day, you are a role. Someone's parent, someone's child, someone's employee, someone's friend. But at 3 a.m., you are simply you. No applause, no reward, no audience. And it is in this solitude that your truth can finally breathe. It breathes through the memories you wish you could erase, the mistakes you pretend you've learned from, the hopes you secretly still hold onto even when you tell everyone you've moved on. It breathes through the cracks in your smile and the weight in your chest. It's not loud because it needs to be, it's loud because it's honest. You may wonder why this voice chooses 3 a.m., why not noon when the sun is up and life is vibrant? Why not evening when reflection feels romantic and soft? Because truth doesn't wait for your comfort. It doesn't knock politely. It arrives when your defenses are down, when your mind is too tired to lie, and your soul is too weary to pretend. It arrives when you're finally quiet enough to hear it, and 3 a.m. gives you that space whether you asked for it or not. This is the hour when the dreams you dismissed during the day come back to remind you that they're still alive. This is the hour when the words you never said echo louder than anything you've ever spoken. This is the hour when your regrets crawl out of hiding and ask to be faced, not avoided. And even though it feels like a burden, it is, in fact, a gift. Because when your inner truth speaks, it means you still have something real inside you, something untouched by expectations, uninfluenced by trends, unbroken by the disappointments of life. Most people think their 3 a.m. thoughts are something to suppress. They reach for distractions, music, phones, television, anything to drown out the rising tide of truth. But maybe, just maybe, that discomfort is the beginning of clarity. Maybe the unease is your soul shifting into alignment. Maybe those thoughts are not enemies but messengers, showing you where your healing needs to happen, where your growth is waiting to begin, where your authentic life is trying to push through the surface. Your inner truth does not speak in perfect sentences. It doesn't care about logic or structure. It speaks in fragments, flashes of moments you miss, faces you long to forget, fears you never named, desires you locked away because they felt too big. It reminds you of who you were before life told you who to be. It's the voice of your younger self, the one who dreamed without restraint. It's also the voice of your future self, begging you not to give up just yet. It's all of you speaking at once, asking for one thing, honesty. When you find yourself awake at 3 a.m., it's not a coincidence. It's an invitation to pause, to reflect, to realign. It's your body and spirit giving you space to ask, is this the life I want? And not be afraid of the answer. It's your chance to confront the compromises you've made, the fears that run your life, the lies you've told yourself in the name of comfort. And even though the answers may sting, they are yours. And in their rawness lies a power that can change everything. We live in a world that celebrates hustle, noise, and busyness, but transformation does not happen in chaos, it happens in the quiet. It begins in the moments when you are most alone, when you are brave enough to sit with your own voice and truly listen. It begins at 3 a.m., when your inner truth becomes louder than your fear, louder than your doubt, louder than the voice that says you are not enough. Because that voice, the one that dares to speak when everything else is silent, is the only one that truly knows who you are. Silence at 3 a.m. is a mirror reflecting your suppressed dreams and pain. When the noise of the day finally fades, when the people, the deadlines, the social masks all dissolve into the shadows of night, what remains is the silence, and that silence is not empty. It is full of everything you've been avoiding, full of the dreams you postponed, the goals you abandoned, the feelings you buried so deep beneath routine that you almost forgot they existed. But silence never forgets. It holds all of it and returns it to you when you are alone, unguarded, and too tired to pretend. At 3 a.m., silence becomes a force. It's no longer the absence of sound, it's the presence of truth. And it is in this profound quiet that your reflection becomes clearest, not in the mirror above your sink, but in the invisible mirror that silence hangs right in front of your soul. It doesn't show you what others see. It shows you what you've hidden, the version of yourself you try not to think about. The one who still mourns lost opportunities, the one who wonders if it's too late, the one who feels like a stranger in their own life. That's who stares back at you at 3 a.m., not to shame you, but to remind you that parts of you are still waiting to be acknowledged. The silence at that hour stretches time. Minutes feel like hours. Thoughts echo louder. Memories become vivid. What you felt 10 years ago can feel as fresh as yesterday. This is not an illusion. It's the effect of finally being with yourself without interference. During the day, we are too busy performing. We act strong when we're breaking. We act content when we're lost. We act fulfilled while something inside us aches for more, but silence exposes that act. It undresses you until only the truth remains. And in that truth, your suppressed dreams surface like sunken ships finally rising from the ocean floor. You may have convinced yourself that certain dreams were childish, unrealistic, impossible. You may have buried them under job titles, family obligations, or the pressure to be practical. But dreams have a different kind of memory. They do not forget you even if you forget them, and in the silence of 3 a.m. they return, not as fantasies but as whispers, whispers that ask, what if you tried again? Or what if you stopped waiting for the perfect time? Or even what if you've been wrong about your limits all along? That whispering silence doesn't shout, it doesn't force, it simply offers a reflection of what you wanted before you were told what was acceptable. Before the world taught you to be small, before fear disguised itself as maturity, the silence holds a version of you that still believes, still yearns, still dreams. And though the pain of facing that version can be overwhelming, it is also healing. Because it means you're still alive, not just breathing, but truly alive. Capable of change, capable of starting again, capable of remembering what once set your soul on fire. But silence doesn't only reflect dreams. It also reflects pain, and that's the part most people run from. The truth is, some of us stay busy not because we are productive, but because we are in pain. We fear silence because silence brings the past to the surface. The heartbreaks, the betrayals, the failures, the moments that shattered our self-worth, they all rise like ghosts in the quiet, and yet facing them is the only way to free ourselves. Avoidance doesn't heal. Distraction doesn't erase, only acknowledgement has the power to transform pain into wisdom. The silence at 3 a.m. has no filters. It shows you not only what happened, but how it changed you, how your trust was chipped away, how your courage dimmed, how you learned to hide your vulnerability behind a smile. And in that awareness, you are given a chance, not to erase the pain, but to reclaim the parts of yourself you lost to it. To say, yes, this happened, but I am still here. To recognize that your scars are not signs of weakness, but of survival. There is a peculiar intimacy in sitting with your pain without flinching, in allowing the tears to come, not because you're broken, but because you are real. And real people feel deeply. The silence at 3 a.m. does not judge your pain. It honors it. It makes space for it. And in doing so, it gives you permission to do the same, not to wallow, but to witness, because witnessing your own pain is the first step to healing it. Not by force, not by logic, but by presence. Sometimes the dreams and the pain are intertwined. Sometimes you gave up on something because it hurt too much to pursue. Maybe you were told you weren't good enough. Maybe you failed and it broke something inside you. Maybe you believed them when they said your voice didn't matter, your art wasn't worth anything, your ideas were too far-fetched. The silence at 3 a.m. reminds you of those moments, not to reopen the wound, but to ask, what if they were wrong? It is in that silent space that you begin to question the narratives that shaped your choices, that told you to shrink when you were meant to rise. This kind of silence is sacred. It doesn't offer easy answers. It doesn't promise quick fixes, but it brings you face to face with the truth you need, not the one you want. And that is the starting point of all genuine transformation. To sit in the stillness of the night, eyes wide open, heart exposed, breathing through discomfort, and simply saying to yourself, this is where I am. That moment, raw and vulnerable, is the birthplace of self-respect. Not because everything is okay, but because you finally stopped pretending. You begin to realize that your dreams didn't die. They simply waited for you to be ready to carry them without apology, and your pain didn't break you. It carved a deeper space in you for empathy, compassion, depth. What silence at 3 a.m. reflects is not failure. It reflects depth. It reflects the parts of you that still care, still hope, still fight. And even if you've forgotten how, they haven't. The world moves too fast during the day for us to see clearly. But at night, when the pace slows, when expectations loosen their grip, when you are not trying to impress anyone, You get a rare glimpse of yourself, not the version that pleases, but the one that dreams in defiance of reality and aches without shame. That is who you truly are, and even if you go back to sleep, even if you ignore it for another day, the silence will wait. It will always be there, patiently holding up the mirror again at 3 a.m., reflecting everything you've pushed aside, not to punish, but to remind you that it's still there, waiting for you to listen. Your restlessness at 3 a.m. is a signal to realign with your purpose. It's not just sleeplessness, it's not just overthinking, it's your soul trying to reach you in a language you can't ignore. You toss and turn, not because your body is uncomfortable, but because your spirit is. There's something unsettled inside you, something calling for attention, something that refuses to be silenced no matter how tightly you shut your eyes. That deep stirring in the stillness of night is not meaningless. It's intentional. It's a nudge, a whisper, a wake-up call that you're drifting too far from what you were meant to do, who you were meant to be. When you feel that heaviness in your chest at 3 a.m., it isn't always anxiety. Sometimes it's clarity masked as discomfort. It's your inner compass pointing back to the path you strayed from, the dreams you sidelined, the passion you diluted to fit into someone else's mold. And because the daytime is too crowded with obligation, this message waits for the hour when you're most honest, most raw, most available to hear it. Your restlessness is not a flaw, it is feedback. It is your own life trying to remind you that you were made for more than what you've settled for. We grow up learning how to suppress this signal. We are told to be practical, to be stable, to be grateful for whatever we have even if it does not light us up from within. So we get used to ignoring that inner nudge. We convince ourselves that it's just stress, that it's just a phase, that it's just insomnia. But the body doesn't lie, and neither does the soul. And if you're waking up in the middle of the night with thoughts racing and your heart pounding, it's not random. It's a disruption with purpose. It's your deeper self, the one you buried under responsibilities and routine, rising up because it's time to be seen again. Purpose isn't always loud. It doesn't always arrive with certainty or clear steps. Sometimes it comes as discomfort, as a sense of missing something you can't name, as a yearning you don't understand. The mind may not know what's wrong, but the spirit does. And when the two are out of sync, restlessness is born, not the kind that coffee can fix or sleep can solve, the kind that keeps tugging at you even in your most quiet moments. That is the real you asking to be heard. That is your potential knocking, asking why you've locked it away. There is a part of you that remembers what you were once passionate about. It remembers the things that made time disappear, the ideas that sparked without effort, the actions that felt meaningful even when they were hard. But when life starts piling up with expectations, comparisons, and pressure to conform, those things can feel distant. And yet, at 3 a.m., they return. Not because they're haunting you, but because they are healing you. They are asking you to come back, not to the past, but to the parts of yourself that believed there was something more. Restlessness is a strange kind of guide. It's uncomfortable, inconvenient, sometimes even painful. But it's also precise. It doesn't show up without reason. It shows up because something in your current way of living is misaligned. Maybe you're working a job that drains you instead of drives you. Maybe you're surrounded by people who applaud your mask but ignore your truth. Maybe you've been trying so hard to be what others expect that you've forgotten how to be who you are. Whatever the reason, that unrest you feel in the stillest hours of the night is not your enemy. It's your inner guide trying to lead you back to alignment. It's tempting to silence it. To scroll, to binge, watch, to medicate, to escape. But escaping only delays the message. It never erases it. Eventually, the voice gets louder, the discomfort grows deeper, and the truth becomes harder to avoid. But if you listen early, if you sit with the restlessness instead of running from it, you begin to see what it's trying to show you. You begin to notice what in your life feels forced and what feels freeing. You begin to separate the expectations placed on you from the ones you genuinely hold for yourself. This awareness is uncomfortable because it challenges everything you've built your current identity on. It asks you to question your routine, your goals, your relationships, even your definition of success. But this questioning is not destruction, it's reconstruction. It's the process of remembering who you are beneath the layers of who you've been told to be. It's your system rebooting, not because it failed, but because it's ready for something more truthful, more meaningful, more aligned. At 3 a.m., you are stripped of your distractions. There are no meetings to attend, no social obligations, no one to impress. It's just you and your truth, and when that truth doesn't match the life you're living, restlessness is the bridge between the two. It's the tension that invites transformation. It's the discomfort that signals growth. It's the awareness that change is not just needed. It's overdue. This kind of restlessness doesn't ask you to have all the answers. It doesn't demand you make drastic moves overnight. What it asks is honesty. Can you admit to yourself that you've been pretending? Can you acknowledge that something doesn't feel right anymore? Can you sit with the thought that you deserve to live with more purpose than you've allowed yourself to imagine? That kind of honesty opens the door to change, and change begins with the smallest of decisions. To no longer ignore the signals your soul is sending you. Realignment isn't always about quitting jobs or changing cities. Sometimes it's internal, sometimes it's simply choosing to no longer betray yourself, to no longer silence your curiosity, to no longer numb your creativity, to no longer postpone your healing. It's about moving even 1 inch closer to the life that reflects your truest values. And every inch matters. Every step, no matter how uncertain, is a reclamation of purpose. People often say they don't know what their purpose is. But maybe it's not about figuring it all out in one moment. Maybe it's about listening to what energizes you and what exhausts you, what excites you and what depletes you. Maybe purpose is not a destination, but a direction, and your restlessness is the compass pointing you toward it. You may not know where the path leads, but you do know where you're not supposed to be. And sometimes that is the clearest starting point. The next time you wake up at 3 a.m. with that familiar weight pressing on your chest, resist the urge to run from it. Instead, pause, breathe, ask yourself, what part of me have I been neglecting? What longing have I buried for the sake of being realistic? What would it mean to live in a way that actually reflects who I am, not just who I need to be to get by? These questions may not bring immediate answers, but they bring you back to yourself. And that is where all purpose begins, not in knowing everything, but in finally hearing yourself clearly enough to start moving in the direction your spirit has been asking for all along.